say, kids, what time is it?
Hey, we're back. I'm back.
Yes, we're back.
Yeah. Took a little time off to be a full-time single dad, and it's a ton of work, but it's
Sure is.
beyond worth every second. And I thought I'd have a little time for YouTube and whatnot. Nah, not even close. But that's okay.
I don't know why the summers just get filled up because you go spend outside, you spend more time outside, obviously, which is a great thing to enjoy the outside, and it's like there's less time to be in and doing stuff with YouTube.
Yeah, I agree. So, there's no point in I feel like I'm really late to some of these parties.
Right. Yeah. We're not going to cover everything.
Not going to cover stuff. I just want to quickly hop through a couple of the hot button topics just so people who do follow our channel and follow our videos and wonder where we've been and again, I get a little bit of a quick take on because I am catching up on this stuff now. I was actually weeks behind, and part of the thing coming back to YouTube, I'm like, well, where do I hop in now? Because I'm way late to all these parties, So, real quick though, I want to tell you, your Berserker reviews are freaking awesome, man. They are kicking butt on this channel.
Oh, okay.
So
that's good. As a matter of fact, I'm late on. I got to get that number 4 out because I know it came out.
What a great issue, huh? The
It
twist
was a
with his
great
father,
issue.
huh?
I know.
Yeah.
It was all like, of course, the end of that arc, and I knew it was going to be one of those, like, just incredible. Yeah, I'm enjoying that story. I mean, I knew it was. I hoped it was going to be more than just the violence and stuff. And there's a lot more to that story than just the splashy violence and stuff like that.
I
Although there's plenty
agree.
of that too.
I'm with you 120 million% on that one because I kind of went into it expecting just a bloodbath, right?
Right.
I didn't expect it to really delve into the characters as deeply as they're doing. And not just him, his parents and in the village he lives in and the whole lore, coming from 76,000 years up through. So, and
I was just like, where are they going to go from here? Like, they can't possibly cover 80,000 years, so they're going to go from that. Like, I'm just wondering where they're going to go from here.
Well, it's going to be interesting too to see the military side of the story. How they're trying to figure out what he is and what makes him tick, so they can create an army of super soldiers or whatnot. But that's going to start playing out with the psychiatrist a little bit more, I think. And it's really good. I really like it, and it's refreshing in this downfall of Marvel and DC. Which we'll get to when we get toward the main topic of tonight's discussion. But yeah, so you and I had the privilege of meeting Ron Garney at Terrificon.
That was awesome,
and it was really awesome. Great guy.
It was like the first time I met him, and it's like, wow, what an impression he gave me.
Yeah, and I know our friends at Pina Comics are really good friends with him, and he's gone on their show, and hopefully we can get him here with us. Because he had some really interesting things to say, did he not?
Yep. Yes, he did. Yeah, and he gets a lot of credibility because he's one of the better ones that in the industry right now. And of course, he's doing the Berserker series, which I think he's doing a great job of that. I love how it goes from this scene where there's as you said, bloodbath, and then it goes to these subdued, serene, deep scenes where he's wondering is this all I'm gonna
is this all that I am
for,
right.
And it's all very calm, you see him go deep into himself, he's gonna get lost in his consciousness and stuff like that. He's just wondering it goes from this really crazy violence to this what do I do for the rest of my life, when I'm not
and
violent.
That's some of the stuff I didn't expect from this series, is that those introspective moments where he's is this all that I am? Am I just a blunt instrument?
Yeah, and
You
I
know.
love Garney's art, how it goes from like that really bright red, all sunny with the violence, and then it goes to this like really like nighttime or when he's being introspective. It's really a great
Yeah,
contrast.
the blue palette that comes with
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yep. Because he's kind of feeling a little blue, right?
yeah.
But yeah, Ron. If you are watching, if you're just checking out what we do, I want to thank you again, as I did in person, for validating everything we've been saying on this channel for the last year. We're not crazy. That the activists have seized control of the comic book industry.
Yeah, it was really quite refreshing listening to him.
Yeah, yeah, it's refreshing but scary and sad all at the same
Yeah,
time.
I mean, yeah, I mean, refreshing, and not that it's a great situation, but just to see that, like you said, it's validated that all this stuff that we've been talking about is like it's great to have somebody from the inside, or one of the better ones, to actually validate that. It's not like we're just making up conspiracy theories or anything like that.
Right, right. And I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm
Right.
paraphrasing when I
Yeah.
say, but he said something along the lines of Marvel used to be the best company in comics, and now they're absolute shit, which is sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, before we get into a couple more things, this is the weekend of the Star Trek 55th Comic Con
Oh.
or not Comic Con, Star Trek convention in Las Vegas. And I
Oh,
know
that's right. Yep.
a
Yep.
lot of the YouTubers that in our community ventured out. I was trying to get there, but I was shocked. I've been to Vegas in August before and usually can get a deal. Nobody wants to go bake in 130 degrees in the shade. But not this year. No, there were no deals. No deals. So I couldn't swing it. So maybe next time.
Oh.
But I caught a couple of videos. I looked at like Culture Casino had one today where he's like roaming the streets outside the Venetian Hotel, and Drunk
Oh, he's there
3PO showed
too.
up, and Nick Weiser and a bunch of people showed up, Ordsport, and then I saw a little bit of Friday Night Tights, and they had
Yeah,
some
I saw
people
that.
there. So it would have been cool to meet some of the people in person, but it was not to be this time. No, it was not to be.
Yeah, I mean, the guys from Friday Night Tights that did say they're gonna make this kind of a tradition where they're gonna keep going back. So maybe one of these years we can get out there.
Well, and I know they've done a New York Comic Con thing before, and I don't know if they're going to do that this year, especially with what New York is
Yeah.
levying against people. I'll leave it at that. But next month is going to be some. It's going to be hard to get into New York, so yeah. So I don't think they'll have a New York Comic Con one, but they are talking about something in the spring, maybe. So we'll see. But there will be a time. There will be a time, and if not, next August for the Star Trek convention for sure. So quickly, let's rifle. Oh no! What did I just do? I just boomered myself. That was stupid.
I can't do that weird accent that they
Oh,
make
that.
fun of Gary.
Oh, that.
Where's that? Where's that dark control
Yeah,
panel?
where's Odin when we need him? Oh, I just have to hold on a second. I gotta hit the right button here. So did you watch this?
No, but I've been following a lot of the reaction from it.
I will say this. I had shut Netflix off because I don't have time to watch it. And I'm like, why am I paying for this? With the plans to turn it back on, because not only on Friday, July 23rd was this premiering, and I was, way curious, even though it was exactly what they said it was going to be. But also that documentary series, The Movies That Made Us, was having another season, and I wanted to see those. So I turned Netflix back on. For anyone who watched all 5 of these episodes, I give you all the credit in the world, because all I needed to see was 20 minutes of this
Wow.
absolute dog shit to cancel my Netflix subscription again.
Jeez.
It was
It was that
awful.
bad?
It's awful. It's everything that Clownfish said it was going to be. As you can see, of course, the art and the animation's beautiful. Powerhouse did a phenomenal job on that, but He-Man dies 10, 12 minutes into the episode. And he sacrifices himself, which is, noble, of course. And the sword gets split into 2. And when that happens, he turns back into Adam. So as he's dying, he turns and gives Tila a final look as Adam, and she had, of course, no idea that her boyfriend was He-Man, or Adam He-Man.
Yep.
Didn't know about the secret identity thing, and so he dies, and then they go back to the palace to tell his parents that he's dead, and she goes on this rant about them keeping secrets from her, and how dare they, and she severs her ties with them, and don't forget her father's man-at-arms, and that's it. And of course then I didn't see the subsequent episodes, but she does the shaved head thing, and then she hooks up with the woman, and it's like, and then I didn't need to watch the rest. That was enough. I'm like, this is just garbage, and I shut it off. But I know what happened. That there's a couple flashbacks with He-Man in it, and then he gets killed again in episode 5.
What the heck?
He comes back, and then Skeletor rams a spear through him or something. So, and then I think the worst part, forget the production itself, forget the fact that Kevin Smith lied and gave us what Clownfish said. It's that he turned around and attacked the people who have made him who he is. He went on a 30-minute rant on his whatever he calls his stupid Fat Man Batman fucking podcast nowadays, and just trashed all the people who have made him who he is for the last 2 decades.
It's just
the dude's he's a total sellout.
I hope he has a really rapid fall. I also heard about, or I actually heard him say the words. It's like, oh, I was really worried about this series when I had such backlash over that it's not really He-Man, and the guys at Netflix said, oh, don't worry about it, we don't care what the fans said. How could he come out?
Yeah.
I mean, even if Netflix did say that, you don't say that to everybody else.
Basically saying, we don't care what you think. We're gonna ram our shit down. It sounds like the Jerry Dugan thing over at Marvel with we just make these comics for each other and they're great fun and we don't care what you think.
Wow.
This is like a virus, forget COVID. It's what's going on in the entertainment world is just beyond. And for a guy like Smith who, since Clerks in 1994 has claimed that he's just one of us, he's just a regular schlub, he's a fanboy, and he doesn't deserve to be where he is. Bullshit. That dude's a phony. He's phony. And his credibility shot. And as far as I'm concerned, we're in the he was supposed to be in our Charlton movie documentary. Done. Don't want him in there. It's almost a detriment to put him in there.
Oh yeah, that would be a detriment.
He's lost his credibility with the average, fan. So, yeah, nice job, Kevin. I hope you're cashing those checks and enjoying yourself, because your audience is gone. Gone.
Yeah, he made his decision. He was going to just sell out and just be disingenuous and attack. I mean, that's the last thing you should do, is just attack fans. Even if you feel like that you're wronged by a section of fans, your reaction should not be to attack them.
No. There was another quote in there that really pissed me off too, and he said something like talking about how the fans were ripping on what he did and all these choices that were made, and he said, yeah, I was 20 once too. Hey, blow it out your ass, Kevin. I'm a year older than you, and I said all that shit, okay? So fuck off.
Yep.
Yeah. So the dude is just a sellout. He's a phony, and what are you gonna do? I never understood how he was elevated to this status of
exactly
know-it-all God anyway, because I was like, what is he really? He's not talented really at all. I never understood it. And he becomes an authority on everything. He shows up on all these Blu-ray special features, and I'm like, what's with this dude? He's no different. It would be like, why can't you or I be on one of those? We know just as much as that dude does.
Should we start crying over every movie?
Yeah, maybe we should. maybe we should. So it's a shame, because Powerhouse again did a beautiful job with the.
I guess, like I said, I didn't see it, but the images are incredible.
They really are.
It's animation.
They really are. So we'll see. And it's kind of funny, because I think Netflix really did care. They did pull it down off their Netflix top 10 list like day 3. Yeah, I
not surprised.
I think that was one of those things where he said the quiet parts out loud. I really think that Netflix has muzzled him because he's been awfully quiet about He-Man for the last
Yeah.
2.5, 3 weeks. I think they were like, dude, shut the
Oh
hell
yeah,
up.
that was it.
Shut the hell up. They lost 400,000 plus subscribers that week, and I was one of them. So
That should have been a week where they could have gained because you're showing off a new show, a new show that's like got such a following.
it's amazing how it went from like big news to no news in such a short amount of time. And a guy named Silent Bob just won't shut the hell up, right? About it. It's and it goes back to the original Clownfish post last year.
Right.
They did not at Kevin Smith on Twitter. They didn't even. They just said, we got this tip. This is what it's going to be about." And he
started
the whole thing. The direct assault on them, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's funny if you go to the Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, the shills. It's like, what, 94% critic approval?
The critics.
And the audience is around 30.
It was like 36 or something.
It's that. Yeah, it's just... Oh, the shills in the excess media are great, aren't they? Good God. So,
And I would have really loved to see a Robotech reboot with these guys doing the animation. Wow.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it looked good. But the writer didn't show up.
We'll have to keep an eye out for what they do next. And who knows? I mean, maybe they'll pull Smith off as showrunner after the next 5 episodes, because I think they did 2 seasons of 5 episodes each, right?
Yep.
Maybe they'll pull him out and have somebody come in and fix it. Who knows?
Do you think was it always planned on having that 5 episodes and 5 episodes?
I think so.
Because I wasn't sure if this big uproar would cause them to, do a break.
Oh, maybe they did. That's tough to say, and I don't listen to his.
Yeah.
I can't. We have friends that do listen to that, and I'm like, how can you? This guy pats himself on the back for 3 hours a week. All he does is brag about how awesome he is, and I can't. I can't stomach it.
I can't do it either.
Yeah, it's gross. Speaking of gross, not much of a box office gross on this one. They had the good opening week, and then it cratered. I finally got to watch this yesterday or the day before. This film to me doesn't resemble anything that Marvel's put out before theatrically, because those shows are what they are. This was a mess.
Oh, okay.
This movie was a hot mess. I kept thinking while I was watching
more of the TV series. Yeah, is what you were saying. Yep.
I'm watching this and I'm thinking back to the original Iron Man, the original Captain America, the original Thor, and I'm like, what is this garbage? This is someone she's a regular person. Yeah, she's a skilled assassin and a spy, but she's flying through plate glass windows and flying through the sky and landing and the cars are flipping and she doesn't have a scratch. She breaks her own nose and fixes it, and then there's nothing after that. She's perfect at the end. She's got a smudge of dirt on her chin. This was such trash, and it felt like 2 movies. Like anytime there was a dialogue scene and you just start getting invested in the dialogue, some shitty action scene comes out of nowhere, disrupts the flow of the whole thing, to watch this like highly choreographed fight or really bad CGI battle. It was so bad, and it reminded me of Winter Soldier, where Taskmaster's just kind of silently stalking, right, and like blowing up cars. It was just, and then the thing falling out of the sky at the end. I'm like, holy crap! It was such uninspired garbage, and I felt so bad for Scarlett Johansson. This is what they gave her, a generic pile of garbage.
I really went in there wanting to be positive, and I did enjoy a couple of the scenes that you, as you said, when there was like some dialogue, and I did enjoy some of those scenes. I'll admit it, but overall, it's like the way they treated Taskmaster. Taskmaster was complete crap. And honestly, I think they didn't even want to. I don't think this movie is a Black Widow movie, or I should say a Natasha movie. I think it was just a promotion of now I've already forgot her name, of her sister Black Widow, to get her into the MCU. That's basically I thought that was it. It was just to promote her so that she could become the
Florence
next.
Pugh's character,
Yeah,
what was it,
Florence, yeah.
Yelena or something?
Oh yeah, right. It was Yelena. Yep. And it just I don't know.
It
I feel bad
cheapened
for her. Yeah.
it cheapened Black Widow as a character
Yes,
because
for sure.
you've got an army of them and they all wear the
Yeah.
same outfit and they're all just as skilled, and it's just like, well, then what made her so unique, right?
Right.
I just don't understand. And I saw Gary from Nerdrotic say it, and a couple other people were like, why didn't they just make this the thing in Budapest with Hawkeye? That story they brought up in the first Avengers, how just show us what that was about, right?
And I'm sure that was bandied about, but it was probably shut down with like, oh no, so this is I want a Black Widow movie, I don't want Hawkeye showing up and taking scenes away or whatever. Of course they sacrifice a great story idea by being like that.
Well, and we've seen them do it already with Doctor Strange and
Right.
And what was the other one? There was two, right? Was it Doctor Strange in the WandaVision? There was another one. I can't remember what it was now, but they were like, oh, we can't have the man show up and overshadow.
Well, all of Loki was like that.
Oh yeah, right. He was just there to get kicked in the nuts. Yeah, it's the MCU's in big trouble. I think, serious trouble. I thought of the 3 films coming out this year, this was the one that stood the best chance of being successful.
It was.
It tanked. Shang-Chi is probably going to be received even worse, and I think the Eternals is dead on arrival. I think the MCU's in big trouble. I mean, you look at this film. They hired a director who's done 3 independent films in the span of 20 years. Why was she picked? to hand her a $200 million film. And clearly, she didn't direct any of the action scenes because they feel so different and disjointed from the whole film. Like, thought it was like pasted together. I mean, it was clearly all second unit stuff and CGI stuff and bad CGI too. You know, running in front of the flames, and it's so bad. I just and David Harbour. What a waste of David Harbour.
Oh.
You know, Red Guardian, who's supposed to be the Soviet Captain America, is instead reduced to a clown. Comic relief. He can't put his uniform on. Oh, he's all fat and dumpy, and he's my God. You know what scene bothered me the most, and it's been covered to death on other channels, but it really did bother me, was the scene where they talk about getting their uteruses ripped out, right?
Oh, yeah.
You think back to Age of Ultron, when she's telling Bruce Banner that, it's really powerful, emotional moment telling him that and what she went through. And and they took it and reduced it to a cheap laugh.
A cheap laugh, yeah.
It just all for a cheap laugh, and that's the problem. This is the Thor Ragnarok effect. Taika Waititi undercut all the drama with a cheap joke. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Thor Ragnarok because it was so different, and the Thor movies are kind of dull. So it was like they did something different with Thor, and it worked. But since that movie, they've been doing this with everything. They undercut all their drama with a cheap joke.
Yeah.
And it's bad. It's like dad joke level stuff. It's not good. It's so formulaic, and I just couldn't believe it was so boring too. I was like nodding off constantly watching this because I couldn't get invested in it. Like, it was just like, you know, Scarlett Johansson doesn't need to sue Disney for the box office she lost. She needs to sue them for what they did to her character.
Yeah, and the writers.
Yeah. Jack Schaefer was one of them.
I was just going to say what you said about the Thor Ragnarok. I enjoyed that too because there was something that specific to Thor where he was like this, like, you know, high and mighty, so to speak, where it's like, you know, they're got to behave in a certain way, and then to have that to be, it works to have him, like, at least for just one movie, to have him do all this comedic stuff just as a contrast.
Right.
But then to do that to everybody is stupid. It's like they probably did see that how it was received, and it's like, oh, we should do that all the time.
Do it all the time. Yeah.
That's stupid. I mean, didn't work here.
No, and there was no stakes in this movie at all. Like I mean, we all know her fate, but it just didn't feel like anybody was going to die or get hurt, or And then the allegory having the main villain is like a Harvey Weinstein, sex trafficking kind of guy, and I was laughing out loud when she's trying to assault him, but the pheromones keep her from hurting him, and I was dying laughing. So she breaks her nose. All she had to do was walk 15 feet away and shoot him, right? Because the pheromones can't go that far. Just like, what a dumb plot device. That
was bad.
And I wonder, Red Letter Media pointed out that they felt he looked like Marty Scorsese. And they wonder if they did that because Marty Scorsese takes shots at Marvel movies and calls them bad and, amusement park rides or whatever. So he did look a little bit like Marty Scorsese. The glasses, anyway. But
I mean you made a great point about the villain. It's like you don't even see him. There's how are you supposed to not sympathize, but
fear him?
Think of fear and think of him as a great presence when there is no presence until the last 5 minutes. It's like, really?
Yeah. And then, knowing that the stuntman for Taskmaster was a man, it's so obvious that it's a man the whole time.
Why bother then?
Then why? Right? Why bother? It's just not even. Yeah, and then the Red Room being in a flying fortress. Come on.
That was bad.
That should be. It's in Russia, right? It should be in some Siberian gulag underground. It should be gritty, not some floating palace above the clouds that. S.H.I.E.L.D. can't find it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so sophisticated that all it takes is a shot up into some kind of fan, and the whole thing comes down.
The whole thing comes.
So that wouldn't have defense. I mean, that's that built that way. That's just one shot takes it down.
Just so many scenes of just nonsense. When Florence Pugh did that, she stuffed the thing and then it blows up and she falls backwards in the explosion. The car. When Taskmaster flipped the car and it went down into the subway station and they get out and they're like, okay, on to our next adventure. I was like, come on, this is bad. Just bad. And the whole plot device, the whole MacGuffin of a gas that deprograms the...
Yeah.
And save nothing of their mother there. What's her name? Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Weisz who played her, yep. Who was... elbows deep or ear deep into the whole thing, but at the end it's like, oh yeah.
It's that she created all the widows. Yeah. It's her fault, and again, much like Scarlet Witch, well, you're sorry. Okay. Yeah, forget about all the human trafficking and the destruction of the ripping their reproductive organs out and just all the abuse, and it's all right, you're sorry, it's okay. Well, everybody's happy at the end, and oh my God, it was just awful. Just awful. Even the guy, the weapons dealer she's buying stuff from, he looks like a GQ model. I'm like, I don't believe for a second that this guy's in this, an underworld, what's the word I'm looking for? A mercenary or something, Come on.
He didn't look the part, and he just showed up out of the blue.
And she puts him right in the friend zone. You can tell he's trying for more, and she wants no part of it, right? I don't know. It was so haphazardly. I couldn't believe it. The Marvel has fallen. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has fallen quite a bit. Again, you go back, even in your brain, think back to those first couple movies and look, and then watch this. Not even close.
Nope.
But this. And not the book.
Both.
I finally watched part 1.
Oh, you did? Okay. Did you see part 2?
Not yet. I was going to watch it tonight, but we did this instead. So
yeah,
I'll watch it tomorrow.
Watch it too.
This right off the bat, I've watched a lot of the DC animated films. To me, this right off the bat felt different. The pacing is like a theatrical, like a live action theatrical movie. It's not wall to wall music.
No.
In action, and it's paced. It just I was sucked in the animation.
The animation was awesome.
Amazing.
And what a great decision it was to break it up into a longer. I consider both of them into one long movie, but into enough of time to really flesh everything out, so they could do that, it doesn't look like it's just all jammed in there.
Yep. I did notice because I, when we found out they were making the movie, I went back and reread the book, and
Oh, so
I
did
noticed a few of the differences, but they're not.
Yeah,
It doesn't change the overall plot or story at all. It's man, it's really well done. It was so refreshing. I cleansed my palate after Black Widow with this. Uh, very, very good.
Yeah, I haven't really enjoyed a lot of the recent ones that they made these animated Batman movies based on like the one with Hush and
Right. Killing
I haven't
Joke.
really I haven't really enjoyed them, but this one I was like as you said, I was just kind of drawn right. I was just even though I was home, I was almost like I'm at a theater now because I'm so focused on it. I'm not I'm like immersed in it as I'm watching it.
That's a great word to use. I felt the same way. It sucked me in from frame one, and I didn't move. And like the book has the great noir art by Tim Sale,
Yeah.
that creepy noir art, and the cartoon doesn't do that. It would be just too weird, I think, for mainstream audiences. But they do. The art is different. It's more of like an Art Deco style, but it does have heavy lines, and I just think it's gorgeous to look at, and the animation is really fluid. Very, very happy with it, and I can't wait to watch the second part.
Actually, I wish they put this in the theaters.
I wish they would too. You're right. The full 3-hour version, just put it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it all.
Yeah. So, yeah, massive thumbs up for Long Halloween. I cannot wait to watch part 2. And if you haven't read the graphic novel, do so.
Oh yeah.
It might be the best Batman story written. Although
they're coming out with another one shot, it's like a 40 or 50-page book. I wonder what that's going to be about.
Yep, it's Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale again. Dark Victory too. I mean, Dark Victory is like this is 1A with these two stories, and I'd love to see Dark Victory turn into a 2-part movie next.
Yeah, I think they probably were planning on it if this hit it.
Yeah,
I hope a lot of people tune into this one and get the DVD so that they do Dark Victory.
I hope so, and I know, ironically, Robert Pattinson, who's been the either the bane of Matt Reeves' existence or the butt of fandom jokes or whatever's going on with him, came out last week, I think it was, or the week before, and said, "Oh, I'd love to do a live-action Long Halloween." It's like, haven't you been like the most disruptive Batman ever? And now you want to do the best Batman story?
Pattinson said that?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Kidding me?
No.
I remember, like, I don't know, how long ago was it? It was just rumors about the Batman movie, and I read a few little things here and there about, how he still goes back to how when he was just being a detective, it's a detective story, and I thought it was going to be the Long Halloween way back then.
It sounded a lot like that because it has a lot of the the Falcone and the mobsters and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it borrows elements from it.
Probably.
Yeah. I did love the line in this movie. There's that great line when they're in the Batcave and Bruce turns to Alfred and he says, when I started doing this, I thought it would just be, scoop up criminals and throw them in prison. I didn't know I'd have to turn into a damn detective.
That was like awesome.
What a great line. And I don't remember that in the book. I think they added that.
No, that was not in the book.
I don't remember that from the book because that would have stuck out in my mind, I think. It was really, really a lot of fun, and I cannot wait for part 2. And it's nice to see something of quality because everything is such a downer. I mean, you go back and it's like, oh no. And then you get that, and you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And you're right. The Hush was a huge disappointment.
I can't believe
Killing Joke was a huge disappointment. And then there's some in between. They have like Batman versus Robin and Batman Ninja. And they just haven't knocked it out of the park in a while. I think not since the Dark Knight Returns two-parter.
Dark Knight Returns, yeah, that was
really... they really haven't gotten it right. And they had a bunch before that were great, like the one with Red Hood and the Arkham Assault on Arkham, and like those were all awesome. Year one, but since the Dark Knight Returns, they had a couple of duds in there. So it's nice to see that they. I've always wondered why they never did this story, and now they did. So I got one last little catch-up thing, and then we can get to our big discussion topic. Have you seen this yet?
No, and I actually have had this opportunity to see it, and I for some reason I just can't sit down and do it. I don't know why. It's like
Yeah,
I gotta watch it. I know, but I don't know. I guess this probably goes back to like I was never really a big fan of Suicide Squad, so I gotta like really try hard to want to watch it.
Same. For me, it's I can't stand Harley Quinn. I know that's unpopular, and there's people hitting the thumbs down right now as I say that. It's a one-note character. It's a one-trick pony. I am so tired of the bad girl Harley Quinn thing. I just am. I never liked this character, and I know I'm in the huge minority with that. But
it's kind of ironic because I was just thinking today how the typical Harley Quinn that they have had in the comics and in this movie. I know there's going to be people out there hating it because I can't watch her. I can't read those comics and watch her. It's just like the whole, just jumping around and the slapstick stuff and the weird, trying to have the accent and just being even back when she was like the Joker's puppy, and it was like,
yeah.
But I was just thinking of there was one comic series that I got, and I wanted to still make a review on this channel sometime, called Joker Harley Criminal Sanity, where she is awesome in it, and because she's not this Harley Quinn, she's like pre-Joker Harley Quinn, and the way they treat her there, it was like really great, and I can't wait till I get to that point to do as soon as I finish that story. But that's my only Harley Quinn story I like. She's not doing this.
Just to piggyback on that a little bit, I like what James Tynion's been doing with her in the recent run of Batman, where she's actually trying to redeem herself and help Bruce from the inside, and that makes her a little more interesting and gives her a little more depth than just running around with a hammer and making cracks, like you said.
She still makes a couple of cracks here and there just to keep everything honest, but she's mostly just trying to
turn her life around, and it's almost like what they did with Sandman back in the 80s in Marvel.
Oh yeah,
which I really like that too, when Sandman's like, when you have, he's kind of more of an anti-hero than an actual villain. It makes it more interesting that way, right? More of an antagonist than an actual villain. So I am finding the recent run, but as well with our next story, we know that's coming to an end. So
Yes,
but and I love Margot Robbie. She's a phenomenal actress, but I don't care. It's like watching somebody from Jersey Shore.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like Snooki with a bazooka. I just don't care. That said, I am interested in watching it. Idris Elba's awesome, of course. King Shark's in it, and Stallone's doing his voice. So that right there is a win. Peacemaker from Charlton Comics is in there, so I want to see how they handle that. But, again, I was never a fan of this comic book, really. So,
yeah, me neither. I don't think I've ever bought the comic.
But we'll see. And I know it's really doing horribly at the box office, and I'm wondering, are we seeing the beginning of the end for the superhero movies? People want to blame the coof and they want to blame all this kind of stuff, but King Kong versus Godzilla came out in March and made $500 million, and that's with LA and New York closed at the time. F9 made $500 million. I think people are just getting tired of these things, man. I mean, you look at the MCU, it's 24, 25 films now. That's...
Yep.
That's a lot in like 12 years. So I don't know. It just seems, and I don't think the average moviegoer knows the difference between a DC movie and a Marvel movie. I don't think they know the difference. I think they're just like enough with the superheroes.
Yeah, either that or you've got to come up with some kind of new way of expressing it. It's like not grabbing a bunch of characters that are not even well known and throwing them into the mix is not going to do it.
And making it funny. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to just everybody trying to grab onto the comedy thing because everybody gets a good laugh and it's like, but you know, too much dessert's still gonna not be.
Yeah, and that comes from the Guardians of the Galaxy too. I mean,
Yep, it does.
Suicide Squad is the DC derivative. They're like, oh, look what they did with a bunch of D-list characters that hardly anybody knows, and you get a guy like James Gunn, and now they actually borrowed him too for this one. So it's again, it's down to formula. It's all formula. So I think they need to do something like really out of the box again. Right. As much as Thor Ragnarok was out of the box for that. Those seriously toned Marvel movies, then you had that happen. You almost have to do something completely unique here. I don't know what the answer is, but even I'm getting sick of them.
Me too.
A couple of years ago, we would have raced out to see Suicide Squad or Black Widow week 1.
Yeah. Not
sit home on the couch and do it. So, that said, what is Substack? Now, you're a lot more up to speed on this than I am. But
yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised I haven't seen a lot of this covered in a lot of places because I think this is kind of like the biggest story I've seen in all summer long.
Yes.
About what's happening with this. Not just Substack specifically, but what's going on with the comic book creators and Substack. Because Substack's been around for like, I believe, 4 or 5 years. And it's, basically like a blogging site, a newsletter site. Anybody can come on there and start their own newsletter.
Right.
Because there's one that's like free, or there's an aspect of it if you want to offer your writing for free or whatever it is you want to write about. And then there's a subscription-based one as well. If you get enough of the following, if people are interested enough in your material, you can make money off of it, and Substack will make money off of that too. But what's happening lately, though, and I'm trying to like nail down exactly when it's within the last 2 weeks, I think. I'm wondering, like, I don't know if I know the whole story. Like that, I'm thinking that Substack reached out to certain creators, the ones that were well known, and they have like a different tier where they actually pay them, like they call it grants. They pay them up front, like this a large amount.
It's like a book advance.
Yeah, well, exactly like that. Yeah, in the hopes that what their material is going to do is going to bring up a lot of money, and of course they're only going to offer it to some of the more established creators. So you saw and then just I don't know who they reached out to first, or they just reached out to a bunch of people, and then other writers like kind of told everybody else. I don't know how it happened, but now all of a sudden all these big name comic book writers have moved over to Substack. And James Tynion, you were just mentioning, he was all of a sudden, he used to have plans to write Batman for a few years. Now it's like, next month, I believe, or the month after that, it's like this last Batman. And he actually said DC offered him a contract, an exclusive contract for 3 more years, where he had the opportunity, first dibs on Batman. I mean, like, for you not to take that, like the most iconic comic book character, and have him be you're the person who's writing the main title, and then you're being offered something from DC. Like, this offer from Substack had to be big for him.
Yeah, I mean, you're handed the keys to the flagship character of your publishing company, and you say no in the middle of a highly successful run, and probably the only really good book out there. I mean, there's a couple of outliers. I'm actually enjoying The Flash right now. It's just basic fun right now. But this was something that you brought to my attention, like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it was right around there.
It was when James Tynion decided to go, and it was like, I was like, well, what the hell is Substack? Why is he going to go blog? Like, blogging, that makes no sense. And this, we've seen, with EVS and a bunch of other, CGers, making money doing direct-to-consumer stuff through Kickstarter and Indiegogo and things like that, right? But this is different. This is subscription-based. So, for instance, I signed up for Tynion's blog. So $7 a month, and you get everything he does, whether it's a blog post, a news article, or a comic book. You just get whatever he puts out for $7 a month.
He said specifically, like, I don't know if they're all doing this, but he said, all his comic books are going to come out first now, digitally through Substack.
Right.
Substack. So whoever's on there is going to get them first. I think eventually he will also go out and look for publishers to print it in book form.
Right.
Physical book form. But
right.
First, his subscribers are going to get it first.
And I'm guessing you're going to see studios like Boom, Dark Horse, maybe Image, but maybe even some smaller ones like Aftershock and people like that are going to line up to grab these and just quickly print them because the hard work's already done, right?
Right.
Kind of like what Keanu Reeves and Ron Garney are doing with Berserker. We get digital copies first, and then they land in the store, right? Later on. So, this is really interesting. So, I'm on James Tynion's page right here, and he's got several articles written already. I really admire the most recent one, Goodbye Twitter. Something I'm really considering too. I got to say, I've been away from all this stuff for like 4 weeks, and the thing I miss least of all is Twitter. I could care less if I ever go back there, and I know I can't communicate with the other YouTubers without it right now, but it sucks, and I'd like to find another way to do it because I'd like to just ditch it. I can't stand it. It's freaking vile. I hate it. And his article on Goodbye Twitter is really insightful.
Great.
It's really great. And it's funny because my 9-year-old likes to say that social media has destroyed the social fabric of America. And she's right. She's like, it has ruined the ability to be social with one another. Talks about a lot of his projects. And I'm interested in his Blue Book.
Yep, that's coming out pretty soon.
That looks like fun. And you know who might really enjoy that is Final Death Star, Enter the Unfamiliar. Does all the UFO videos and stuff on YouTube. That's like something right up his alley. True UFO victim accounts or whatever you want to call it. So
I was going to say the attraction of coming here. People are like, well, why is he coming to this newsletter or blog as opposed to working for an established comic book company? But it's the freedom that they have. They don't want to be like edited, and they don't want to be told what to write. They want to, I know a lot of comic book writers say, "Oh, superheroes, you have the opportunity to write a superhero like Superman and Batman." But deep down, they want to create their own story.
Of course.
And that's what coming here does for them. They just basically create their own stories that they've been holding on for like 20 years. You can be independent. You can do whatever you want on here, whatever story you want, and you get to keep all the rights to it. Substack does not take any of that away. You keep your IPs with you,
right?
Okay, wherever you go, so that you can. And Substack does not like put anything on you about seeking out publishing deals afterwards or anything like that.
Now, I think you hit on an important point too about the freedom they have, and in his Farewell Twitter blog, which is a really good read. There's a couple of parts that stuck out to me. One of them, he says, now it feels pretty clear that the end game of social media is more dystopian than utopian. The algorithms that underlie the platforms feed on engagement at all costs and keep us frothed up and angry to try to force us to engage with it. And one of the important things about Substack is there's no algorithm.
Right. That's another.
He's really big on that. And there was a part in here. I think algorithmic social media platforms are literally destroying the world. And that's part of what made Substack offer so appealing to me. It's a decidedly anti-algorithm platform. He says something in here, too, about because it's not out. Here it is right here. He says, because it's not algorithmic, It's truly a free speech platform.
Right.
And here's I met him 3 or 4 years ago. We did a podcast at Midtown Comics, and him and his partner Samantha were there, and just had a ball with them. Right, great kid, and he's mature enough to be able to acknowledge and handle the fact that, and I'll just put it in his words. I agree that there are bad actors using this platform. I'm a queer person, and there are some people using Substack who make my skin crawl. But there are also a bunch of queer writers and creators of all stripes getting six-figure Substack programs and access to health insurance who've never been offered that kind of security by any other company, certainly not in a way that lets them keep the rights to everything they make and walk away at the end of it. And he's not trying to silence people he disagrees with.
Right.
And he's actually, he's like, they get the same benefits and they deserve the same benefits, whether or not they make his skin crawl or not. That's a mature, really mature, what's the word I'm looking for? Conclusion to come to. I mean, how many times have we've heard it from people around us? Don't go on XYZ platform because there's XYZ people on there. And it's like, yeah, but they're not going to censor anybody. Yeah, but there's XYZ people on there. Well, who cares if there's XYZ people on there? They're not going to censor. So, it's that whole argument. And I really appreciated that he's like, yeah, this is not just all people of the same thought process and the same backgrounds. It's everybody. And you're free to go find who you want.
Right. And that logic about like, where's it going to end? You're going to say, it's like, I don't want to go to a restaurant and be served by somebody who disagrees with my political. Is that what you're going to do? I don't want to be in the same. It's like then what country are you going to go to where you're going to find everybody agrees with you?
Well, that's
are you going to go to a different planet? I mean,
but that's him reinforcing his point about the destructive nature of algorithmic based social media, where they gin up hatred and they gin up. I heard somebody say something like friendships. Social media has caused friendships to become temporary or disposable. Because you have people, they disagree about something and then they just cut each other off from their lives because they can't agree on something on Twitter or Facebook. And that's really sad. And it's dividing families. The idea of civil discourse is a thing of the past. I mean, when we were in high school back in the 80s, we had debate classes, right? And people vehemently disagreed with one another. And then went and had lunch together afterward. Yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be, but it's not like that anymore. Social media is destroying people and destroying relationships. And so when I read this blog post yesterday, it really, stuff like that just stuck out to me that, there's people he probably hates on this platform, but he's not going to try to rob them of their chance to earn a living.
Right.
So,
and I really thought this was such a huge story because of it's just another. It's almost like an avalanche now starting where it's like we talk about the big two, Marvel and DC, and they're losing all these like very high quality, talented creators. Who are they going to have left? Their sales. We already talked about this many times. Is non-existent, and they got not writers but activists who just care about sending a political message, and I think this is really bad for like established publishers like Marvel and DC that somebody could just want to be attracted by doing this.
You'd like to say in a perfect world this opens the door for a whole new generation of talent. It would be, you're a writer, wouldn't you love an opportunity to write at Marvel Comics? At least at one point in your life, you probably had that idea. But I think you're right that we're looking at probably between 50 and 75% of the talent in Marvel and DC are agenda-driven versus character and story-driven. There are some. I just read Moon Knight #1, and I literally clapped
Yeah, I like that
because it was an old fashioned. And you know what I loved about it? And I like Moon Knight, but the last couple runs, he's hardly been Moon Knight.
right.
It's more about his split personalities and dealing with Khonshu and all that stuff. He was Moon Knight kicking ass in this book a lot. It was cool to see. So so far so good. One issue, Jed McKay. I hope you don't change a damn thing.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I think you're right. I mean, you scroll through this and you see Jonathan Hickman, you see James Tynion IV, you see Scott Snyder, you see Chip Zdarsky, you see Nick Spencer, you see Scotty Young. Like this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And much like Tynion did with Batman, Nick Spencer was supposed to write Spider-Man up through issue 900. Legacy numbering 900.
Wow.
And he's out in what, 2 more issues, done. And I didn't even know he was on this platform. I said to you, did Nick Spencer jump over there too? Because he's just suddenly leaving Marvel early. Same thing.
Yeah, and it was and the same thing happened when I heard it was like, oh, Hickman's not doing X-Men. What? But the whole point was that he was going to rebuild them from the ground up with a whole new, world, and they're moving away to this other island. It's a whole new view of X-Men, and all of a sudden he's out. Like, that's weird, but not anymore.
Yeah, and our friends at Pina Comics were talking about this a few weeks ago too. They were like, what the heck was that all about? They were building this whole thing up that Hickman was going to just like reboot the whole X universe, and he like took off after like a couple issues. Gone. And you were seeing that a lot at Marvel even pre this story.
Yeah.
I remember when Nick Spencer took over Amazing Spider-Man, it was supposed to be Nick Spencer and Ryan Ottley, and they were really, really pumping up this creative team. And I think Ryan Ottley drew 6 books, maybe.
And
Where'd he go? He's gone. Where did he go? It's really, really fascinating to see the player movement, if you will, in the comic industry of named talent. It's really, really interesting.
It's also going to be interesting that only certain writers are going to get this type of offer. The
grant.
They're actually getting the grant, and like I've already seen just recently a couple articles where the lesser known creators are kind of starting to, I think it's out of jealousy, attack the Substack for letting certain other people, but in reality, they're just doing it because they're not getting the offers.
So they're accusing them of gatekeeping. Much like the Kickstarter and the Indiegogos were accused of that too.
So it's already starting with that because they're not, they're only going to go after certain creators. But that doesn't stop any writer from coming on here. You're not getting the huge upfront money, but I think this is a better way to break into writing and even comic book writing. Like you're doing your own story right off the bat. You're not going to some other company that might just tell, no, you got to work on this, or and how do you break in anyways? Is it still where you send a sample to them and
or have a
they accept it? It's like, well, why don't you just come on here, do your story? They're not going to stop you from doing your story. Obviously, you got to start on the free one,
right,
where you're offering it for free. But you could, if you're good and you believe in yourself, you can get a good following real quick, and then you can just switch over to subscription base and make money right away. It's like, and you have your freedom. It's
no different than what we're trying to do here with YouTube.
True.
It's the same model. We have to work on this channel and get it to a point where we'll right, we'll have subscribers.
It is that way.
Yeah. So, it is interesting, and it's God. I had a thought a second ago, and now it's gone because that's what happens when you get old. But it was about the gatekeeping thing, and it's. I think it's going to be interesting. I subscribe to Scott Snyder's too. I just did it free for now because I want to see what he's going to do.
He's doing something interesting. He's actually doing his
horrors
on there.
Yeah, his teachings.
His he's offering like a course once a month, like 90-minute course on different aspects of writing. I'll probably wind up subscribing to that.
My interest in a guy like him is we know he was a victim of the Whisper Network. And I'm wondering, this is he doesn't have to be constrained by that fear of that mob coming after him and trying to, cost him his livelihood now. Does he get back to the? I mean, his old horror stuff and his Batman stuff was top flight. And then toward the end, when he was still at DC, it was a mess. Like he was a shadow of himself and kind of towing the corporate line, right? And we know why.
Yeah.
He was being bullied. So
Yep.
he clearly didn't have the stomach to stand up to these people. And now it might be nice to see. You told me he might bring back witches.
Yep, he already had a post on Substack where he said he was bringing back witches, and he's going, and when you just said maybe he'll go back to his old horror, that's exactly what he's saying that he's gonna do. He's gonna go back to the roots of what he used to do at the beginning before he got into superhero stuff, and I think you're gonna see a lot more from him about those stories. That's what his essence of the essence of his writing is. Those stories, those classic horror type stories like witches. So I think it's going to be great.
I want to throw a hypothetical at you too, and not getting overly hyperbolic about the whole thing, but do you see this maybe as a thing where they're doing this? This is going back to my other thought, piggybacking on my thought that they're trying to get away from this whisper network. A lot of these creators have had it with what's been going on. We know what Ron Garney told us face to face. Do you think that this is a way to extinguish that whisper network, or that subset of untalented people who are gatekeepers or who are part of this activist mob? Eventually, they will be pushed out because they're not earning anybody any money, and then these guys might go back to the big two. You might see James Tynion or Scott Snyder writing Batman 3 or 4 years from now again. You might see Nick Spencer go back to Amazing Spider-Man again, because this might be a way to purge the ill that has befallen the big two, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I think
just hypothetical.
And I'm hoping the effect will, and I think it will be that. I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying they're making the individual creators are making this move because they think it's going to be some kind of collective way to do it. I think they each have their own reasons to come and like I think you hit it on the head with Scott Snyder. He just doesn't want to have to deal with it. I mean, he's got a family. He doesn't want to have to deal with that kind of crap coming on, and I think that this is his way of escaping that type of thing. And they each have their own reasons why they're coming here. I think it's mostly because they just want to do their own thing.
No, I
create their own story. But I think as a result of this, I think it will have that effect that you just described. That eventually, that type of activist writer type stuff, it's gonna die out because
they're killing their own industry. And for people watching who aren't aware, there's a 3-part in-depth investigation into this comic book whisper network on bleedingfool.com. Journalist codenamed Penny Parker did a fabulous job, and it's unbelievable. And this was started, what I would say 2018-ish, maybe.
Yeah.
Where they started a private Facebook group where they were like, we're going to get rid of XYZ, and they're going to start coming after people. It was bad. So it's worth the read if you can find it on Bleeding Fool. Find the 3-part investigative report. She might even have a 4th part coming soon because she embedded herself in the group, so she learned all the dirty secrets.
And you saw certain ones, certain writers kind of just folded into it and didn't want to be attacked, so they joined in the attacks, like people like Tom King, which
Tom King or Mark Waid. Yep.
Certain other people just tried to stay out of the way, and they got caught in the fringes of it. I actually I admire Tynion for not getting caught up in that web. I don't know what happened there, but it's great that he didn't get caught up in that.
Yeah.
Scott Snyder, almost kind of did.
He kind of did. Yeah.
But
they tried to cancel him, and he bent the knee, and then he got once you apologize, you're screwed, and that's what he did. Yeah. So.
But then he came up with this strategy too, and I don't know if he already had heard something like this, but I remember even before this Substack move came, he was already moving on to like having his own publishing
Yeah.
company, which is basically himself to do his own stuff. So this is kind of right up his alley that this happened. So
Well,
that he
and he
moved
did
his own publishing here.
he did the thing with Tony S. Daniel on Indiegogo too.
Oh
So
yes, yep.
yeah. So
Oh yeah, that's become an image. He said he was going to continue with that one. I don't know when it's going to end. Noctera, it's called. That's still going on as an image comic.
yeah,
And he's.
it's really Saladin Ahmed's another one.
Oh right, yep.
Um, Al Ewing is on here. It's
Well, like they all seem to have their kind of like their, which is great, have their own kind of approach to what Tynion's gonna just put out his own, create our own comics here first. Scott Snyder's like he says he misses teaching, so is gonna use this as a way to reach students, and then Hickman's doing something a little bit different. He's joining up with a couple other creators, and he's creating like a whole universe basically. And that's how their first couple of posts are, like how they're creating the economics of it, how they're creating the ruling classes of it, with obviously the end game being that they're gonna release titles within that universe, but it's all going to be like a shared universe that where all the titles kind of intermingle that way. And then I thought that was great.
yeah. It looks to me and it seems to me the next logical progression from the crowdfunding direct to consumer.
Right.
You know,
Instead of the one-time deal, you get the ongoing
subscription, and it eliminates the fact that you have to print and mail and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
You know, because it's a cheap subscription fee to read all this stuff digitally. But I would love, again, I would love to get James Tynion's books in print. I don't like reading stuff off the screen. I'd rather sit down with it in my hands.
Me too.
But you know what? If this is the only way we're going to get it for a while, this is the only way we're going to get it for a while. And
Well, think about it. It could kind of like help you be selective, I guess, when they come out in print. Like if you kind of see them digitally first, you'll know that whether you like the story or not, and whether you want to eventually buy it. It kind of, instead of having to take a chance on buying it. So
that's a good point too. And if these guys are putting out anywhere between 3 and 4 books a month, you're paying $1.99 for each one at a $7 subscription versus $4.99 for each one in the comic shop. So, yeah. But I got to read my copy of Mom still. So I bought it. I bought it.
I kept going back and forth, and I'm like,
I had to. I'm like, I got to buy this train wreck. I got to watch her swing from her armpit hair.
Oh man. How do you? I respect that image so much, but how does somebody there make a decision to let this one go? It's almost like what they tried to get away from. They're getting those characteristics now, like the characteristics that they initially, why they formed to get away from Marvel and DC. Now they're starting to adopt some of those characteristics, and it's like they've become too big, I guess.
The beauty of irony is that it's so ironic. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
You see a lot of things like that, like, Kevin Smith, I'm one of you guys until I'm not. So it's funny what money and celebrity will do, changes everything. So anyway, so I guess this would be a good time to discuss our plans for the channel.
Yeah.
Share with our audience, since we've kind of done a vanishing act for a while. We're going to do this format for a while. I think we're going to just make videos whenever we feel like it. And we're going to kind of put streaming in the back pocket for a while, because it's just too much work at this point in time to put that show together every week. It's just too much. Yeah. Let us know what you think of that, please. But, to the Tuesday night show at the level we were doing it at, without dedicated producers and things like that, I can't. Wow. It's a good 12-hour commitment every week, and yeah, you guys get 3 hours of the 12-hour commitment. The rest of it is all prep and behind the scenes and organization, and it's a lot. And with the world opening back up, it's just too much. We did 48 streams in about a calendar year. That's a lot. That's a lot. and it was sucking the life out of me. I couldn't do it anymore. So I'm not saying we're not going to do it again. I'm just saying for now we're not going to do it again. So I know you have some Berserkers. I got to get back to my Supermans, and anything else that strikes our fancy, like what we just did here, kind of thing.
Yeah, we could come back and once when a big story hits and kind of like that's like kind of like the one we want to and bring. I like the way you kind of just gathered a couple of the more current stuff that's going on too.
Yeah,
we could do this once in a while, and and I really want to hit more reviews other than Berserker. I mean, I so much wanted to do this by now with the. I can't say it enough that like I'm trying to keep my excitement down, but that Dune trailer was like really. Every time I watch it, I'm kind of like overwhelmed.
I still think
I don't want to get too excited because I've loved this story since like high school, which is a long time ago.
Yeah, you have.
And unfortunately, I mean, it's good that they made the decision to make it 2 parts, but the downside of it is there's no guarantees that they'll make the second part, and if this one is, if they don't make enough money off the first one. So I really hope people go out there and watch it.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough right now with the box office. If they put it on Hobo Max at the same time, it's not going to make anything. And they said the new Bond movie needs to make $900 million to break even, and that's not going to happen.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
So I don't think any Bond movie would ever make $900 million. People, it's a niche audience. You either love it or you hate it. So you're not going to get the casual movie going. Let's check out the Bond movie. This doesn't happen. Yeah, so we'll see. I still think you should do the Dune trailer review because I haven't seen anybody do it. I haven't seen anybody else do it. I mean, I haven't looked at everybody's channel, but
yeah, no, I know.
And even in the the algorithm knows, and I don't see any like Dune trailer reaction anywhere. So maybe Midnight's Edge, maybe Tom did it, but
Yeah, in addition to the trailer, I've gotten some feedback from people who I guess got some advanced screenings, and I haven't heard a negative thing yet, which kind of worries me, but it excites me as well. And like I said, I really hope it's great, but in addition to it, even if it is great, is it going to be enough to get enough people out there, enough traffic so that they can make the second one?
Yeah.
What a shame it will be if they can't even complete this whole first story.
Mm.
I mean, I was hoping that it would be like a kind of a franchise where they cover like all 6 books of his. I know his son and other writers came up with more, but at least the first 6 that he did. But just this one story would be great.
Yeah.
But you need a second part. It's not like they made they filmed both at the same time.
Right. Well, we'll find out in 3 short months, right?
Yep.
Unless it gets pushed
Finally.
again. Yeah.
Oh.
And the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer looked awesome too. The tone and the spirit was right. And
good.
Let's face it, at the end when Dan Aykroyd picks up the phone, we're closed. It's like, yeah. And I've seen the toys. And there's a Bill Murray toy, and there's Winston, Ray, and Peter toys with the gray hair, and they're older, so they're going to be in it, and they're in the suits with the packs, so they're going to be in it. So
when Bond's supposed to come out?
October 8th, something like that.
See, that's the other thing. Now Dune will have to compete with that one. They'll have to compete with each other.
Yeah.
It's not good.
And then, speaking of Bond, Ashley Miller will be joining us anytime now to get our Bond series back on track. Ashley's out at the Star Trek convention, but I hit him up yesterday and I said, do you have any time in the next week or so to get this thing rolling? He said, yep, absolutely. So
he does. Oh, really?
Yeah. So he'll be contacting us shortly, and we'll get that thing in the can and get moving forward. Looking forward to that. Ashley's awesome. If you've listened to the 430 movie or Inglorious Treksperts, he's very witty. It definitely marches to the beat of his own drum, and he's going to be very, very colorful and fun to listen to on our Bond series. So I'd like to get those going again. And then
I know the first one we did probably has the most views of everything we did, I think.
Yeah, with Mark Altman. Yeah, way back in March when we said we got to do another one in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to compress our time frame on those, but you know what? It's James Bond. Whatever. That's fine. So yeah, unfortunately, I'll be going back on another 2-week hiatus, but I've got to travel for work and deal with some personal stuff. So end of August through Labor Day, channel's yours again. And I just want to say before we close this out, the thing you and Pete did, with Tink. And how Secret Hideout completely rolled her was horrifying. And I edited. I did some light editing. I barely cut anything, but I added some coverage to it.
Yeah, that was great.
And watching it through, I was just like stunned. I mean, I shouldn't be stunned. I watched the gross incompetence that comes from Secret Hideout, but the part that bothered me the most was when she said she went to the pitch meeting. And Michelle Paradise and what's his name, Akiva Goldsman started doing some kind of sketch as like diversionary tactics. Yeah. So then the studio head comes in and says, "Shut her down. We're going to take this and make it ourselves." And they just stole her stuff.
That's to have her be in there and then just
to tell her, like, they basically write out and said, "We stole your shit. Thanks for all the hard work for 2 years. Bye." Yep. Yeah.
And getting that follow-up call from the props guy and threatening her.
Right. And then the threats that came and, and she said this went, J.J. Abrams. This went all the way to Sherry Redstone. This was the network and the production people. So, yep. And I got to say, I don't know how. This is just my personal opinion, but I don't know how she could, after all that happened and what happened to her personally, she wiped her out financially. For her to be so forgiving of these people, yep. I don't care if the props guy's talented or not. There's dozens of talented people out there. That dude needs to pay for what he did. I'm sorry.
She just wanted to make everything right. She still just wanted to work with them.
Yeah, yeah. All that. And, hey, kids, want to work in showbiz? Sad. But you guys did a great job on that. I was mesmerized watching it, and I hope everything works out for her. I really do. But
me too.
That was not a fun story. And thank you to PJ from Orville Nation, who reached out to me and said, "Can you do this?" And I knew I couldn't, and thanks to you and Pete for stepping up and doing that. It was really, really compelling video. So.
Yeah, it was, outside of the tragedy of everything, horrible how they treated her, I was very interested in just the material that she's. It's like I never even thought of that, like how she developed that. It's not a glossary, but like it
was like an app. It was like a functioning database. Yeah.
Very interesting.
I did find it interesting, too, that right away when she said she watched the first couple episodes of Discovery, she realized, oh, my God, they're not actually rooted in any science whatsoever. I don't think they are to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, God. And they just renewed Alex Kurtzman for 5 more years.
Yeah, that's the one I was like, I think I put it into the back of my mind.
Didn't even put that story up. Maybe we should.
I know. Because I was like, it's just going to infuriate me.
That's it. Put a fork in Star Trek. It's done. It's done.
Yep.
And I don't understand how this dude, and if you want to watch a great rant on it, watch Robert Meyer Burnett's reaction to that news. Robert Meyer Burnett might be the ultimate Star Trek fan. And hardly anybody on this planet knows more about Star Trek than Robert Meyer Burnett, and he goes off. This is Exhibit A for failing upward. This is I don't get this dude. You look at failure after failure after failure. I mean, he wrote Into Darkness, co-wrote it. He wrote and directed The Mummy with Tom Cruise. Bomb. Clarice. Bomb. The Star Trek shows. Bombs. They don't make... Those Star Trek episodes cost, what, $8 million an episode? 8 to 12, depending
that
on.
much.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And when they put them on CBS proper, they were barely drawing 1 million viewers to them. I mean, that's just that. Netflix ditched their investment in it. Amazon ditched their investment in it. This guy he swings the wrecking ball at anything he touches. He's a talentless hack. And they reward him with $160 million 5-year contract to keep stewarding Star Trek. They deserve whatever happens to them at this point.
Makes no sense.
They deserve everything that's coming to them at CBS. Everything. And their streaming service is a piece of crap dead on arrival. I don't care what you call it. They can rewrap it with another name. It's going to bomb just as bad because it's just shit, and there's shit programming on there. It's sad.
It's just a bunch of old stuff, I think.
Well, yeah, because who wants to watch the new stuff? The new Twilight Zone, trash. The new Star Trek, trash. It's just, yeah, Clarice, trash. Was that Equalizer show on CBS too?
Oh, gosh,
trash, right? So yeah, trash. So the one thing they did get right is that they greenlit the 4K Star Trek: The Motion Picture Director's Edition. Darren Doctorman will be dropping some news on that pretty soon because they're starting production on that very soon. What'd they say, 6 to 8 months? And they're actually going back to the 35 millimeter negatives and just recutting and retiming the whole thing, re-rendering all the director's edition effects that they put in, and they're going to deliver a beautiful 4K print. Of course, streaming only. So we're going to have to get Paramount Plus to watch it, at least temporarily, and then I'm sure it's going to be on Blu-ray not long after, but at least at the beginning. But that's the only way they'd get my money. You do that, you give us Deep Space Nine in high def, you give us Voyager in high def, I'll pay for it. But I'm not going to pay for Picard.
Oh, that's still coming, that's right.
Not going to pay for Discovery. I'm not going to pay for Lower Drex, and I'm not going to pay for the stupid, what's the Nickelodeon one?
Prodigy, I think.
Prodigy. And they're promising Strange New Worlds is going to be like classic Trek, but they've promised that many times in the past.
I can't believe that Kate Mulgrew got thrown into that maelstrom.
Check's a check. Patrick Stewart helps it. Patrick Stewart helped destroy his own character. He led him by the hand to that. These guys don't care. They just want a paycheck. They're not vested in it like we are. They're just actors. So, no, it's... How many showrunners have they had on Star Trek Discovery? 7? It's a nightmare. The whole thing. It's almost like what you would, in a film school, you'd say, here's how a grossly incompetent production runs. And just, there it is. $160 million. When you have no clue what you're doing, and you go to San Diego Comic-Con and you say, Star Trek isn't about Star Trek anymore. It's about using it as a platform to deliver our message. You flat out admit you're using it to deliver the message.
At this point, he is not the most to blame. It's the people above him who are letting him do it.
It's CBS. And that's why they deserve everything that's coming. So we'll keep our thumb on the pulse of that one. So what do you say we wrap this puppy up?
Yep.
We're approaching 90 minutes. So welcome back to our audience. Sorry for the vanishing act. But we warned everybody on our last stream. We warned everybody. Yeah. But it's amazing how many people... every once in a while I've had a quick minute or something. I would quickly look at Twitter and they're like, where are you, man? What happened, dude? I put right on our profile on hiatus from this date to this date. And I actually extended it to September 8th now. So, because I got to take off again and who knows what we're going to do, right? So we'll drip out some content until we get settled. And like you said to me, football's coming. And like you said to me, like a phoenix from the ashes, we shall re-rise.
Oh yeah, it's still gonna all the stuff that we can talk about is still gonna be there. So we'll make a big comeback.
We will.
Might not be in the same format for a while, but it'll be a lot of content.
Definitely. And I just want to leave us you all with one quick story. I was outside catching up on. I had a stack of comics like this high to catch up on. So I'm like, let me just go sit outside. It's a nice day and read, and it's not humid or anything. And I'm I'm reading, and all of a sudden I feel this like weird tickle on my leg, and I thought it was like a bug landed on it. It kind of shook my leg. It didn't go away, so I looked down to scratch or see what it is. There was a frog on my leg. There's a frog this big, suction cup to my leg.
Holy God.
Yeah, so I kind of wiggled it, and it wouldn't let go, so I had to actually like kick, and it went woo, and it dropped in the grass, and then it came hopping back and jumped in the chair again.
What the?
I was like, what's going on?
They like the comics that much?
I don't know. It was just bizarre. I'm like, why is there a frog? I don't live near any water. Like, it was weird. So I actually had to like flip him off the chair, and then he kept coming back, so I took the garden hose and squirted him, and he hopped away. That was my exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my Sunday afternoon. So.
Okay.
Never a dull moment.
That's interesting.
It is, sort of. So, as always, do I even have this stuff in here anymore? Hang on. Please bear with me. There we go. Smash that like button and leave a comment, subscribe, and share if you want to follow us on the socials. We're at GeekTimeNet on the Faceplant, the Instagram, and the Twitter. At least we have pages there. Nobody's really doing anything with them currently. You can also email us at geektimenet@gmail.com. But most importantly, we would love for you to smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and share. Any final thoughts, Edson?
Well, the fall is coming, and that's my favorite part of the year, and tons of stuff happening. So stay tuned.
And we will have our football show, although we've decided we're going to combine it into one show instead of having two. And we're going to try to get guests this year. So if you're a football fan, you want to be on one of the weeks with us, shoot us an email at geektimenet@gmail.com, or give us a Twitter DM at GeekTimeNet and say, hey, I want to talk some football with you dudes, like week 4 or whatever. So, yeah. So, all right. I guess we can shut this thing down. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up below. Also, please subscribe to Geek Time TV. It really helps us grow the channel. And make sure you hit that bell icon in order to receive notifications every time we drop new content here. You can also check us out on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at GeekTimeNet. Thanks again for watching. We will see you soon.
Say, kids, what time is that?